All right, so real quick, is there anybody over the age of 50 in here? 2. All right, over the age of 40? Over the age of 30? Now I know who I'm talking to. All right, so here's what we figured out in the last couple weeks. In the world of merchant processing, you are, I could go on about that, but we are working with businesses to give them a better processing experience and usually save them a lot of money when they're doing so. But you have to be able to communicate through, you have to get digital merchant statements, and a lot of things have to happen. So in my life, I'm 42 years old, and I'm the generation that is unique in the fact that I grew up pre-internet, but I'm growing success with the internet, right? My father can't communicate if he has to communicate through one of these. He's 73 years old, 74 this year. Dad, sorry if I sold you out. And he definitely can't communicate very well with one of these. Everybody that's under the age of like 25, what we're figuring out is you can't communicate if you don't have one of these, right? You can't do this right here. You can't have words right to each other. So communication is key, folks. And my first nugget to you guys is I would challenge you, because we talked about this in the car on the ride over here. If you go back in the history of all mankind and all the problems that have happened, including the ones that we're having today, you can't go back and and find the source of that problem and say, you know what, that problem happened because they communicated too well, right? So the first thing you should do with anything that you want to change in your life is look at the level of communication between yourself and everybody in it, right? All right, I'm bad about getting off track here. Let me get back on. So the reason I'm here today, this is kind of what everything I do today is based around. I have been fortunate enough to be around some amazing world-class people. I've got to interview them. I've been able to work with them, collaborate with them, all these incredibly successful people. And I started to study them along the way, and I started to find that all of them had certain things in common. Now, this is where I'm going to ask for some help, okay? Everybody can agree that, would this be considered like a building or a house that we're sitting in today? Building. A building. So what makes a house a house? What's the difference? Heart. Heart? Damn, that's a good one too. I like that. What else? Where you live. Where you live? So again, some people might say they live in a barn, under a bridge. What makes a house a house? I'm going to build a house. What does it have to have? All homes, regardless of shape, size, or location, have these things in common, right? That's what makes them a home.
Is a home a house?
Is a home a house? Well, you make a house a home, right? You make a house a home. And I can promise you, because when we were flat broke, the first house we lived in was very, very small. Love grows best in little places. You know what I'm saying? So what makes a house a house? Well, honestly, that definition can change a lot of times, and it depends on the district or the whoever. Like there's a legal entity that says that's a home, that's not for commercial use or whatever, right? Well, what I've figured out is that all successful people have certain things in common, and I've dialed it down to 3 core ingredients to all success of any kind, right? So you might want to write these down. Number 1 is mindset. Number 2 is skill set. And number 3 is habits. All right, and we're going to talk a lot. We're going to come back to those a lot. But that's how I got to my current mission of breaking down the playbook of top performers so that you can get to that next level. Right? So most of the time when I see or speak with folks like you guys, most of the time when you come to these things, it's because you're already at rock bottom. Is anybody here at like rock bottom today? It's okay. This is a secure, safe area. You're at rock bottom, close to rock bottom, right? What's the saying about rock bottom? It's a great foundation to build up. That's right. Well, check it out. As you guys are going to find out, you're here to raise the bar, right, Nick? They're here to raise the bar, and he's going to tell you what the acronym for bar means. And he's going to go into it a lot, but it's basically your belief, your action, and your results, okay? And anytime I speak to folks, we talk about committing, focusing, and finishing. And those things are exactly in line with belief, action, and results. So belief, anytime you believe in something, that's how you commit. You can't commit to something you don't believe in, now can you? Right? The actions that are taken, that's specific focus. right, that is required to get good or to grow anything, right? So you have to take action, and with that action, there's a required amount of focus that has to happen. And then the results. The biggest thing that I can't stand is quitting. Hate it. I absolutely hate it. I don't want to be around anybody that quits anything. But I love finishers, right? What's the difference in a quitter and a finisher?
Clarity. You had not one more time and you fell down.
For me, like, you know, we recently had a massive exit on a business that had been a big part of our life for 10 years so that we could do some other things. I didn't quit that, I finished it, right? They look and smell the same, don't they? It's a very fine line that separates the two between finishing something and quitting something, right? So I like finishing things. And it's crazy too. Finishing things is really good. It's a good thing because beginnings always hide themselves in ends, right? So the end of something is the beginning of something else, right? But the gift that comes next doesn't come from somebody that quit something early that they didn't finish, right? And most quitters, something just got too hard or they let a circumstance define what they were going to do next. And that was how they came to the decision to quit, right? So all growth requires change, folks. And if you want to change things in a big way, I guess you got to make some big changes, don't you? How do you know when you're done, right? So you have to define that. Cool. I wouldn't have known that I'd got here if my GPS hadn't told me so, and if I hadn't typed in the end destination, now would I? The biggest reason most people quit, though, is because they didn't define the end, right? Imagine if we all went to school, kindergarten through 12th grade, most of us, right? So, well, that was 13 years, guys. Imagine if they didn't break it up into 13 grades. How many of you would have finished? Like, imagine year 6, year 7, you're like, good God, are we ever getting done with this thing? It's like, how long does this take? You know what I'm saying? So, like, being able to break things up into, so you celebrate. Like, seriously, the celebration for my son's kindergarten thing, like, I thought he graduated college. You know what I mean? It was a big stinking deal. Like, they had eagles flying and everything. It was incredible. You know what I mean? Magicians. It was quite the show for graduating kindergarten. But guess what? He was excited for first grade. And then they did it again, and he was excited for second grade, and so on and so forth. So breaking everything up into chapters and using those things. I mean, even the greatest selling book of all time, the Bible, it's broken up into verses and chapters and things, isn't it? Right? So, and it's easier to reference that way too, isn't it? You know what I'm saying? So, awesome. Well, everything that you're here to, like all of you are here for change or some type of growth, right? What I can tell you is that all the growth that you want, it doesn't start in your mind. It all starts in your heart, 100% of it. Because I don't know how you can believe in it if it's not attached to your heart, right? And no matter what, when you're making transition, it's hard, and the days are long. But when you look back, the years were fast. You know, it's a lot like raising kids. You know what I mean? The days take forever, but then you look back and it will blur. As a matter of fact, if it wasn't for like holidays, like in today's world, I don't know if I'd remember what happened last year or the year before or whatever. I can reference those through those chapters we talked about, like grades, through holidays. So for me, holidays are a big purpose. Like this Friday is my daughter's second birthday, tomorrow. It's her second birthday. And if you hadn't seen a big show, my wife's putting on quite one. You know what I'm saying? My daughter won't remember it, but we will. And we'll be able to show her videos and photos of it. It's going to be a good time. All right, well, first things first. Let's get real with ourselves, okay? So everything that you seek, opportunities don't happen, guys. You create them. Like success is on purpose. Nobody scores the game-winning touchdown by accident. Nobody hits the game-winning shot by accident. Success is 100% intentional and on purpose. All right? So that's the first thing. You got to understand that. And then every one of you is different. You're one of one, right? So I believe, and this is, out of all the things that I've ever said publicly, this is the one thing, and this is not even something I came up with. This is something that a friend of mine named Hunter Bledsoe taught me. And people hate what I'm about to tell you. And it's because they like to fight for their limits. They like to fight for the reasons they won't be great. And because you're one of one, I believe that life is fair. Everybody's price is just different. You know, I was fortunate enough to play baseball at the professional level from 2003 to 2007. And what I'll tell you is first of all, I worked my ass off, okay? I worked so hard that when every day you show up at the clubhouse and everybody puts on their practice gear for day one, right? Day one, when I took my shirt off, I wanted to make a statement. To everybody in there that saw me, I wanted to make a statement like, damn, that guy is somebody and he worked hard, right? Immediately with just the way that I looked when I took my shirt off. Why did I want to do that? Because I was one of the smallest guys in there, guys. Like 6'2", 6'3" was like the average, and they'd move like small people do. They're fast and strong and everything. Like I was watching the Yankee game last night and watched Aaron Judge still second base. My man can motor. He's like a specimen. He's unique. A lot of gifts. Well, guess what? That's who I was up against, and I was expected to beat. Right? So my price was just different. But the Lord gave me things that maybe He didn't give. We called them big dumb donkeys back then. Guys that had all the gifts in the world and just no brains. Right? So I would outthink those guys. Right? And that was God's gift to me for my success. So I could have been the victim and be like, well, I'm not as big and strong as them, so I can't play or whatever. Or I could find my uniqueness and exploit it. Right? Every one of you, that's what you're here to figure out. Right? And, you know, they call them growing pains, guys. It hurts. Always. It hurts to grow. Change is inevitable, but growth is optional, right? Change is always going to happen. And can you grow without change? That's literally the definition of it, isn't it? Awesome. Remember this. No matter what, whatever it takes is what it takes. We could just stop right there, couldn't we? Whatever it takes is whatever it takes. All right. So we're laying the groundwork now because I'm going to start to pencil in parts of my story along the way here, okay? So first of all, as I look out at you guys right now, and I know we may have to wake you up about halfway through this to get you going, and I'm going to stand up and start moving around here in a minute. But energy follows intent. Energy follows intent. All right, let's talk about that. Seriously, January 1, what does every gym look like?
Packed to the gills.
January 14th, what does it look like?
Probably half.
Right? So the energy followed the intent. Like, guys, everybody says they want more. Everybody says they want to do more. Everybody says, I want to make at least 6 figures, but not everybody wants to do what it takes to get it. Right? Everybody wants to be fit. And about day 3 or 4 in the gym, if they make it that far, the first day their body's sore, what happens? Oh, God, I can't even get out of bed. I need a day off. Right? And so energy follows intent. So, you know, in talking with my son's 13-year-old travel baseball team, when we speak, a lot of times I will have to raise my voice and say, eyes up, because they're looking down at the ground and stuff like that. So what is their energy doing? It's not focused on what they're there to get. So what are their intentions actually at that moment? Right? So the ground, not what we're there to do, right? And by the way, I'm a volunteer when I do that. You know what I'm saying? I ain't getting paid to stand there and talk to them about that stuff. And if I wasn't there, who would be talking to them? You know what I mean? So it's very important they understand who's working with them, who the coaching staff is, what levels of success the coaching staff has had. And so that, you know, they can be drawn in and want to get more. Because, like, again, we all have mentors. We all have heroes. Well, we all have people that we look up to, right? So it's our job as coaches to make sure they know who we are. And then the rest of the time we're spending earning that with them, right? Because that's a relationship. So I truly believe that the source of change for everybody goes back to one specific place. And that place is different for everybody. So I'm going to tell you where mine was, all right? So I told you as a kid growing up, I grew up in middle-class Nashville, Tennessee. It was a great life in the 80s and the 90s. We went out to eat 3-4 times a week, usually at a place called Shoney's. Don't know if y'all remember what that is. I didn't know that wasn't something that a lot of people with a lot of money frowned upon. It was a great place to us, and we loved it. And my dad was self-employed my entire life. Mom was a stay-at-home mom. We were happy. My dad was in the music business, so I went to college on a dual scholarship, a music and a baseball scholarship, to Trevecca Nazarene University in Nashville, Tennessee, and where I was a very late bloomer. I grew 3 inches in college. I got strong. And before I left, I set the college record as a catcher for throwing base runners out when they try to steal a base. And to our knowledge, that record still stands today. Although that's not one people brag about and that you see in headlines anywhere. However, it gave me an opportunity to play at the next level, and that changed my life. So every level that I went to, from high school to college, the gap from high school baseball to college baseball was drastic. But from college to professional, guys, it was even more drastic. It's a totally different game than what you played in high school or college. If you think you know baseball, you don't until you get to that level. And the reason that I didn't go further in the game, it wasn't necessarily because of talent or I wasn't good enough. The biggest reason is because I was just happy to be there. I didn't treat it like a business. I was still just playing the game. That was it. So in 2007, and let me tell you this, my first contract that I ever signed was for $650 a month. Okay, my rent at my apartment in Nashville was more than that. So I was in the hole from jump. That was my very first contract. And that wasn't all that I made, but the running joke around our offices and homes is that I made thousands of dollars playing baseball, right? But it was a great time, and I learned a lot from those experiences. But in 2007, quite frankly, I got tired of being broke. And I started to realize that this was a business, and I didn't really get the business. So I decided to be finished with that point in my journey, okay? So in 2007, my off-season job every year, it's actually where I met my wife, was there was a happening bar downtown in Nashville. That's what old people say. There was a badass bar in Nashville that I was fortunate enough, I knew a friend that worked there, and they gave me a job as a promoter. The promoter was the guy that they gave us stacks of flyers to, and I went out on the streets, and they paid me in free booze and some cash to bring people into the club. And I did. That was my off-season job one year. Then I went and played ball, and I came back, and I'm like, I'm ready to promote again. They're like, Nick, that job's filled. We need you to do security. Well, over the course of 5-6 seasons, every time I came back, I had a different job. After 5 or 6 years, I had basically ran the place. I'd DJ'd, I'd been a manager, I'd been a bartender, a bar back, I'd done everything, right? So I started to realize that there was an opportunity for marketing back then, and we started a marketing company. In that marketing company, we net profited $100,000 in our first 12 months. It was more money than I'd ever seen. And with that money, we bought it was Christmas Eve, we bought our first bar. It was like a sports bar. And over the next 5 years, we bought, owned, and operated 6 more. Problem was, even though we were successful, we didn't know how to pay ourselves. So we didn't know how to handle the money. And in 2011, my son was born in 2009, I was still kind of broke. And when you're hanging out with those people all the time, it changes you. So I realized that if I didn't make a change, my change at home was going to be forced upon me, right? And that's not something that I wanted. So I made a decision to sell all my equity in my companies. And I had a partner that wanted to buy me out, and we did, and it was great. And right after doing that, I got invited into a venture with Dolly Parton's company downtown, back then when there was supposed to be a water park before the one that is at Gaylord now. And there was a high-rise development that was going in that was mixed use that I got offered to be a partner in, and I took it. And I made some pretty good decisions that when it all fell apart and I lost everything, that we didn't truly lose everything, because some people lost their homes. I just lost every penny that we had, including our vehicles. All right, so in 2013, I have bled dry. I am 32 years old. I got a son that is, he's like 3.5 years old, a beautiful woman that don't like me very much, and I got nothing, right? And that right there, remember I mentioned that source of change that everybody has, that one inflection point? That was mine. That was mine. And I want to tell you that every single day that I wake up, including today, that's the first thing that I think of, was that I have to make sure that I feel that feeling every day, because that still drives me today, right? No matter how great things are today or anything like that. That feeling. Kevin Hart says it all the time. He says, I remember being broke, and he's like, and I run like hell from that moment every day. You've heard Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson talk about it a lot. $7 Productions, right? $7 in his wallet. all these people have an inflection point. Is this yours?